lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only means by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and attain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our heart with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nice having some devotees for class again. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Praja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Praja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Bandachari. Yamuna Tira Bandachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading. We started a few days ago, 10th canto of Srimad-bhagavatam. We just finished 9th canto a few days back. So this is verse 3, chapter 1, verse 3. Avatirya Vador Vangshe Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Tani no Vada Vishtarat Avatirya Yador Vangshe Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Tani no Vada Vistarat Avatirya Yador Vangshe Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Tani no Vada Vistarat Avatirya Yador Vangshe Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Kritavan Yani Tani no Vada Vistarat Avatirya Yador Vangshe Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Tani no Vada Vistarat Avatirya Yador Vangshe Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Tani no Vada Vistarat Avatirya Yador Vangshe Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Tani no Vada Vistarat Avatirya Yador Vangshe Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Tani no Vada Vistarat. Word for word synonyms. Avatirya, after descending. Yado Vangshe, in the dynasty of Yadu. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhuta Bhavanaha, who is the cause of the cosmic manifestation. Kritavan, executed. Yani, whatever activities. Vishva Atma, the super soul of the entire universe. Tani, all of those activities. Naha, unto us. Vada, kindly say. Vistarat, elaborately. Translation. The super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the cause of the cosmic manifestation, appeared in the dynasty of Yadu. Please tell me elaborately about his glorious activities and character from the beginning to the end of his life. Repeat after me. The super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the cause of the cosmic manifestation, appeared in the dynasty of Yadu. Please tell me elaborately about his glorious activities and character from the beginning to the end of his life. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In this verse, the words Kritavan Yani indicate that all the different activities Krishna performed while present on earth are beneficial to human society. If religionists, philosophers, and people in general simply hear the activities of Krishna, they will be liberated. We have described several times that there are two kinds of Krishna Katha, represented by Bhagavad Gita, spoken personally by Krishna about himself, and the Srimad-bhagavatam, spoken by Shukadeva Goswami about the glories of Krishna. Anyone who becomes even slightly interested in Krishna Katha is liberated. Kirtanad eva Krishna Sha Mukta Sangha Parang Prajet. That's from Srimad-bhagavatam 12th Canto, 3rd chapter, 51st verse. Simply by chanting or repeating Krishna Katha, one is liberated from the contamination of Kali Yuga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised Jari Deka Tarika Krishna Upadesh. It's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Madhya-lila, chapter 7, verse 128. This is the mission of the Krishna consciousness, to hear about Krishna and thus be liberated from material bondage. Okay. Shakaya. Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So there are two kinds of Krishna Katha. There's Krishna Katha about the Krishna Katha, the words spoken by Lord Krishna, and there's Krishna Katha, words spoken about Lord Krishna. So Srimad-bhagavatam is primarily about Lord Krishna, although Lord Krishna also speaks within Srimad-bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna speaks. Bhagavad Gita means the song of God. So Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Lord Krishna, and Srimad-bhagavatam primarily leads up to the hearing about Lord Krishna. So both are very, very important. And Srila Prabhupada says here that if if we simply hear about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if we just hear about it, what happens? We will become liberated. We will become free from the material world, material desires, and gradually we go back home, back to the spiritual world. This is this is the benefit of hearing. First Canto Srimad-bhagavatam describes like that. There's a series of verses from First Canto, second chapter, verses around 16 to 20 or 21. And these verses all start off by describing how, sorry, I don't remember the Sanskrit right off, but um, the verses start describing how first a person by rendering service to a devotee, to the pure devotees, uh, rendering service, then a devotee starts to develop a little taste for hearing about Krishna. Most people are not really so interested in hearing about God. Generally, people are more interested in hearing about how I am great, or maybe how some celebrity out there is great, or how my family is great, which means I'm great because it's my family, like that. So most people are thinking like that, but uh, those who, by rendering service to the devotees who have dedicated their lives to the to the service of the Lord, by rendering service to such devotees, then what happens is we start to develop some desire to hear about Krishna. It's a natural process, and that service rendered, there's direct service, and then there's Agyata Sukriti. Agyata Sukriti means pious activities that are performed without one directly knowing that they're pious activities. Um, just like we devotees can go out on Harinam Sankirtan, and people are hearing the chanting of the holy names. That generally people don't even know what we're singing or we're chanting, uh, and they're probably not in the mood of glorifying Krishna, but they're hearing those holy names, and as a result of that, the benefit of that hearing the holy names, then they're getting some pious results, in a sense. There are different kinds of pious activities that one may perform. Um, there's the three kinds of pious activities. There's a kind of pious activities that will lead one to the higher planetary systems. I should be asking questions so everyone's attending. What are the three kinds of what are the three kinds of pious activities? Anyone? Mm. Yeah, but there's certain kind of activities that the pious activities give some kind of certain kind of result. So there are three kinds of pious activities and so my question is, of those activities, what are the three kinds of things we can do that gives us different kinds of results? Um, yes, that's one. If you perform worship, you go into Jagannath, Balaram, Lady Subhadra, Ki Jai. So one kind of pious activity means it's a religious activity because it's in the Vedas. It's there. You can worship the demigods, and as a result of worshiping the demigods, you may go to the planets of the demigods, or you may get certain material benefits even in this lifetime. or in the next lifetime without going to the heavenly planets. That's one kind of pious activity. Yes. What other? Ah, yes. So that's another kind of pious activities. It's a spiritual pious activity. Those activities that by chanting Hare Krishna, by taking prasadam, by hearing and speaking Srimad-bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, by there's so many kinds of devotional service. We do these, we engage in these activities, and the highest result, the beneficial result in this case is a we develop in devotional service. We become more Krishna conscious. That's one kind. And what's the other one? Uh, the third kind, which is actually the lowest kind, uh, is those activities that one might engage in will facilitate their becoming like merging in this Brahma Jyoti, so to speak. So that's the lowest of the three. But still, merging in the Brahma Jyoti is still something beyond the material platform. So it's a little transcendental because it just means you're at least understanding I'm not this material body, I'm spirit soul, but it's not a very high understanding. So that's one kind. The second kind would be the engaging those activities, which will give you some kind of material result. Religious activities by the Vedas that will give some kind of good material result. And the third kind, the most beneficial one for us, is the pious activity, which will lead one to becoming Krishna conscious directly. So, so by so these verses in the Srimad-bhagavatam that I mentioned, I don't have a first canto right in front of me here, but I think it's verse 16 of the second chapter. These simply by rendering service to the devotees, uh, then will start to develop that pious activity, which will lead one to the certain particular result that's mentioned there. What is that result? What benefit does someone get just by rendering service to the devotees? Hmm? That will come, but the immediate result. Immediate result is that if someone starts rendering some service to devotees, then the first thing that will happen is they start to develop some desire to hear about Krishna. Otherwise, we may not have any desire. You know, you read so many garbage magazines and novels and different things like that. Maybe there's some taste there, but by performing uh, just simply by starting to render service to the devotees, the first thing that happens is we start to develop some desire to want to hear about Krishna. Just like I know sometimes in the past, we used to have, sometimes we had prasadam out in the gift shop. This is many previous times. Sometimes we had some prasadam there, and people would come looking for not for devotional things in the store. They heard there's good prices and clothing or things like that. So they were going there, but we give out prasadam to the person who would come looking for these other things. You get prasadam once, get prasadam twice, and then what happens? Oh, can you tell me something about God? So they actually start getting some desire to hear. They didn't come for that purpose, but they start getting that desire because that's another prasadam. Taking prasadam is also one of those pious activities which is favorable for devotional service. Anyway, the first verse describes like that we start to develop the desire to hear about about Krishna. We have the desire to hear. And then, of course, and if we do start hearing regularly about Krishna, then we become, then we develop gradually develop a not just a little desire, but we gradually develop the urge to hear. Like not just it's not just that it's kind of, oh, it's just nice. It was a nice class. No, then you the urge to hear means you come to the class and you really want to. Um, you're really eager. I really want to listen and learn and understand. That 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 kind of desire comes from gradually starting to advance on the spiritual path. They were developing a strong desire to hear. In fact, Srila Prabhupada, he gave his, um, you know, an incident from his own life. Okay, the screen is the sun's coming in again. Uh, the there was an incident from his own life uh, where his spiritual master recognized him like that, that he likes to hear. Srila Prabhupada was um, one of the few times he went to one of the Srila Prabhupada only saw actually was with his spiritual master a few times because Srila Prabhupada was always traveling and the spiritual master was always traveling. But every once in a while I got a chance to see him. So one time he was there listening to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Others were listening there also. And then in the middle of the lecture, you have to come over a little more. In the middle, that's better. In the middle of the lecture, someone came in um, a little bit more. So, yeah, then you have to move your seats a little bit. And so someone came into the room where they were speaking. Shubhakti Santa was speaking, and announced that okay, if we're going have some we're going to be taking a pilgrimage to such and such place around in the area. If anyone would like to come, we're getting ready to leave now. So most everyone who was there listening to Shubhakti Siddhanta just got up and I left. They're more interested in that. But Srila Prabhupada said how he stayed. He wanted to hear. He liked to hear from his spiritual master. Um, so so um, later on, many years later, I mean, so this is like one of the, I'm not sure what year this was after Srila Prabhupada met his spiritual master, but Srila Prabhupada didn't get initiated until like 11 years after that first meeting. And during that, and then when he was brought in by one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples to be presented for initiation, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, "Oh yes, I know him. I remember him. He likes to hear." That he specifically remembered from some years before. Oh, he likes to hear. He didn't walk out of my lecture when he wanted to hear my. And Srila Prabhupada said himself how he liked to because he said because I like to hear from my spiritual master. Now I can preach Krishna consciousness because I wanted to hear. I was eager to hear. So that was went on, and anyway, those verses in the Srimad-bhagavatam they gradually build up and build up so that as we become more and more Krishna conscious, as the more spiritually advanced we become, then the more spiritually um, the more closer we get um, gain the our get closer to our ultimate audience with Lord Krishna. So those 4 or 5 verses uh, lead from the very beginning of rendering some service and getting a little desire to hear to the ultimate, which is the point of Krishna prema. So the entire process is there in those 5 verses. Um, so um, so this is this is our this is actually our our great fortune to to be able to hear about hear about Lord Krishna, um, and to not only to hear, but because we're hearing about how it's important to render devotional service. So if we're not only that we hear about it, but it's not just a theoretical thing. Oh, yeah, okay, that's nice. I should hear about engaging in devotional service. But Srila Prabhupada gave us the 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 means by which we not only hear about the philosophy, hear the philosophy about why that we should engage in devotional service, but of course our temples are here for the purpose of engaging in devotional service. We're reading Nectar Devotion these last days, the the uh, the importance. Yes, yesterday we were reading about um, the importance and the benefits of seeing the deity, of touching the deity, actually going on the altar like that. And Srila Prabhupada says um, he says, but no one can go on the altar, no one can touch the deity without without proper initiation, without properly being properly initiated. I mean, the second initiation in this case, no one can do this. But if we do, actually being on the altar and touching the deity and worship the deity is very great, wonderful spiritual benefit. I think it's here. Just see if I can find it here. Um, Seeing the deity. Let me just read this paragraph. This is from yesterday's reading. In the Varaha Purana, there is a statement praising the seeing of the deity of Sri Krishna in the temple. A devotee says there, quote, "My dear Vasundhara, any person who goes to Vrindavan and sees the deity of Govindadev is free from the courthouse of Yamaraj and is allowed to enter into the highest spiritual system in which reside the demigods. This means that even an ordinary person who goes to Vrindavan out of inquisitiveness and by chance sees the temple, especially that of Govindadev, even if he is not elevated to the spiritual kingdom, is still assured promotion to the higher planetary systems. This means that simply by visiting the deity of Govinda in Vrindavan, one becomes highly elevated in pious life. Of course, this Prabhupada specifically mentioned Vrindavan and this particular deity, but in general, our temples are all are places of pilgrimage. Uh, you know, you can any of our temples, because devotional service is going on. It's a place of pilgrimage. Anyone who comes here can get so much spiritual benefit simply by seeing the deities, serving the deities, bringing some donation for the deities, uh, and so on. And and of course we need to here we need to take advantage of this. We should not, it's just like sometimes it's said that in such as someone might be living in the area of Mayapur, and they think, well, or in Calcutta or somewhere. No, it's not Calcutta. It's Kolkata these days. Anyway, that you may be living there and think, oh, I can go to Mayapur anytime. There's no problem. And maybe never go. And then um, someone else may make a very big endeavor to travel all the way to Mayapur to become to take advantage of the spiritual atmosphere. Um, so sometimes someone might, just in the same way, someone might think, oh, the Hare Krishna temples they're on here in Coconut Grove on Virginia Street. Um, I I live a mile away from there. I can go there anytime. It's no problem. Um, but then maybe they never go. Maybe never come. There are so many people that have walked by here for years that they tell us back and forth, and they see this temple for so many years, and they never had any interest in coming to even to the temple. And yet, um, but if we um, but if we and then someone else might be very far away and decide I want to come a long distance to just to see Krishna in the temple. So in this way we are we should we should we should and just or just like we are um, those who are living inside the ashram should uh, should not think, oh, I can go see Krishna anytime. I'm right here, but then not come to even the Mongol Arctic. We've seen the Mongol Arctic was a little sparse when when you're not here. Not as many devotees are coming. So it's like that. We we should take full advantage of the opportunity because we never know when our situations will change. Maybe we'll think right now we may have very good opportunity to come to a temple. Maybe later on there'll be some things change in our lives or whatever. We may not get that opportunity. So we should all very carefully take advantage of the opportunity to come and see Krishna, especially if you're in the temple. Take advantage and not just see the deities, but render as much personal service as is possible. Because maybe it's someone else may not. If we're in another situation, we may not be we may not be able to do this. The same thing with reading Srila Prabhupada's books. The books are so easily available, with as books in so many languages, the online database, it's very easy. But if we start thinking, oh, it's very easy, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. Maybe later on I'll find time. But in times in the past, if you wanted to actually read, or what to speak of having a copy of one of the Vedic literatures, books of the Goswamis or the certain parts of the Vedas. Uh, this is before the printing presses. Those books were not. You would find they were usually left in some temple somewhere. They're protected there. They didn't go. You didn't. It wasn't like there was a library. You go and you check out the book, or you just go to the store and you purchase the book. If you wanted a copy of Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, for example, you wanted a copy of it, you had to go to the temple, or have someone go to the temple and sit there and handwrite it, so you can see. So it's very difficult to get these books then, but in modern times it's very easy. But because it's very easy, we tend to think, it's easy, then it's cheap. It's not so important. But by Srila Prabhupada's blessings, by Krishna's blessings, we have these books are available. The temples are available. The opportunity for devotional service is available, and we and others who we may have influence over in their lives, we should try to. Everyone should be very eager to try to take advantage, because in this lifetime is very short. Even if we live uh, um, to be old, even if we live to be 80, 90, 100 years old, the time passes very fast. In fact, the time is like that. It seems like that when we're very young. we're thinking, 1 year old or 5 years old, I'm thinking, when am I going to become 6 years old? I mean, it's taken so long. You know, my older brother is 6 years old, and I wish I can now. Whatever. We start. It seems like time is taken like seems to go so slow. But then the other end of our life, when we start getting old, then time passes very fast, and we're thinking, what happened to my life? I'm 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 74 years old now. I don't even know what I did for the last 74 years, and how much longer do I have to live? And you start becoming um, uh, very concerned. So we should be like Prahlad Maharaj was preaching to his friends, his schoolmates in the demoniac school. Today's schools are basically that, except for our gurukulas, they're the materialistic schools. So he was teaching, he was preaching to his friends when the teachers would go out and the children could play together for a little break during the day, and he would tell them, he said, you should take up the path of Krishna consciousness now. And they say, "Oh, Prahlad, we're 5 years old. Let us just play now. Let's enjoy, right?" And Prahlad would say, "You can play, but you should take up Krishna consciousness now. Why? Because right now you're 5 years old. You're young, so you're just playing, but now you've already started to school now. So when you and by the time you finish school, then maybe it's 20 years past in Vedic times. It was something like that. So after that, so you would be so busy in school. If you don't take up Krishna consciousness now, you think I'm going to take it up after I finish school. It's like going through finish high school, going to college, getting our degrees, our PhDs, and all that. Like, okay, when I do all this, then maybe I can take up Krishna consciousness. But of course, by that time, maybe we're married, and then marriage means there's children, and then things become very complicated. So you think, okay, um, I don't have time now. I got so much I got to do. Um, so now when I so but when the children are all grown up, everyone's away, then I can go back and I can take up the path of Krishna consciousness. The boys were making these arguments, and Prahlad was saying, no, when you're real young, you're playing games, you're just enjoying. Then you go to school, and when you finish school, then you'll probably have family, children, wife, children, like that, and then so many years will pass like that. So many years will pass like that, and by the time you finish all that, it's better. By the time you finish all that, then uh, you're already getting old, and now you're losing, running out of. You don't have energy anymore. Your body's becoming like invalid, like that. We can't do the things you wanted to do before, and it becomes a great struggle to do anything. So then the end of life comes, and then we're still thinking, well, I was going to become Krishna conscious. Now it's too late. I have no energy. I'm sick. I'm like this. So Prahlad was saying the best thing is you start off in your you start off in your as a child, from the beginning of your life you practice Krishna consciousness, and so that at the end of your life you'll be well experienced in, at least you can chant Hare Krishna. Uh, we'll have good consciousness, good knowledge about Lord Krishna, and we'll have developed so much attachment for Lord Krishna. So at the end of our lives, then we will be uh, more you'll be able to actually remember God. But if you wait until the end and think I'm going to take up the path, then it won't happen generally. It'd be very difficult. So, of course, most of us started off not as children, and didn't generally join the movement, or didn't weren't born into the movement in general. Uh, but whatever point we took up the path, we should take it and take it very seriously. Because Srila Prabhupada said, we've spent millions and billions of lifetimes trying to enjoy the material world, trying to enjoy Maya. And of course, nobody's satisfied. We're not. Nobody's happy with serving Maya. So but we're thinking that let me become. We think we try to enjoy like that, and then uh, Srila said, but then just give one lifetime. You give millions and billions of lifetimes for Maya, not just as a human being, but as different species of life. We're sure been up and down the species so many times, from Lord Brahma down to the lowest point and up and down. And how many times we've done that, we don't know. So we understand from the Vedic scriptures that's happened, and still we're not satisfied. So, Srila Prabhupada said, just give one lifetime, seriously, 100% for Krishna. You give 100% for Maya for billions of lifetimes. Now you give one lifetime for Krishna, and then you'll become completely satisfied, and you can go back to the spiritual world, and there will be no more birth, death, disease, old age, like that. So the opportunity is here to do that. I think at least those who are sitting here in the class are trying to do that now. Um, um, and by we just stay on the path that we, and by the Srila said, you chant 16 rounds a day, follow the 4 regular principles, just keep engaged in devotional service. You do that, by the end of this lifetime, we will become Krishna conscious. If we don't give up the path, and then at the end of our lifetime, or by the end of our lifetime, it could be before, we'll become fully Krishna conscious and go back home, back to the spiritual world. And we can read and we can aspire to go back to the spiritual world, because there's so much knowledge given in Srimad-bhagavatam and the other books of the Goswamis, what goes on with Krishna and his leelas when he's in the material world, visiting, uh, performing his pastimes, and of course, specifically what goes on in the spiritual world too. Srila Jiva Goswami has a nice book called Gopal Champu, I think it's called. Anyway, it's all about. A lot of the pastimes are similar to the Krishna book, the same pastimes, but written with a lot more rasa involved with it. So all this knowledge is there. All these books are there. That all the acharyas' teachings are there. And Srila Prabhupada, of course, he didn't say to reject his books, but we can, if we're studying Srila Prabhupada's books, then we can also learn from the previous acharyas too. Srila Prabhupada said devotees can translate those books to our languages, and so many of those books are available now also. Anyway, there's a couple points on this on the topic here. Any questions or comments? Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh, you can if you're in the holy dham and you're not acting properly in the holy dham, then you can commit offenses to the holy dham. Yeah, actually, that book, there's a book, Vaishnav etiquette book. We've got it. We every once in a while we do a course on that, and part of that, one part of that is the regarding the offenses to the holy dham. You can see. So yes, if we're in the holy dham but we're committing offenses, then that's almost worse than not being in the holy dham. Yes, it's and if we are there and we're in the right consciousness, then we can get a whole lot of spiritual benefit. Same thing as in the temple. You come to the temple, if you're in the right consciousness, you get so much benefit. You come here and you're completely, a completely materialistic mood or offensive mood, or offending the devotees and offending the deities and all, things like that. And if we do, then the result will not be good, and we can lose that opportunity. Krishna covers us. We obviously made some mistake in the spiritual world too, whatever it was. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. There's no Maya in the spiritual world, but we do have free will. So somehow or other we did something or had the wrong consciousness, and we were sent to the material world. Okay, Krishna. It says, so you want to be God. You want to enjoy you want to be the center like I am. Okay, I'll send you the material world. You can try as long as you want to become the center of everything. And then now we're finally getting to the point where we're saying, I don't think I want to be the center of everything anymore. I want to be Krishna wants to be. I want Krishna to be the center, and I want to simply serve. And that's of course that's very high realization which is necessary for going back to the spiritual world. But once we go back to the spiritual world, Krishna promises that he said in Bhagavad Gita, having once returned to my eternal abode, you'll never take birth in this miserable material world again. So we can be, you know, we can go back to the spiritual world without having to worry that we're going to make the same mistake a second time. You won't let that happen this time. Yeah. Well, Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. So we we don't he doesn't hold so many things against us while we're trying to become Krishna conscious. Yes. Mm. Yes. Yes. It's better. Mayapur is safer unless you're very, very strict in your spiritual life. And of course, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of nonsense that goes on within Vrindavan. I hear about these things, not just within ISKCON, but not so much within ISKCON, but things go on within the area of Vrindavan, where low class activities, just like outside. So of course, those who are doing these things are, I'm sure, engaged. Will get their reactions. Maybe becoming monkeys in Vrindavan, or dogs, or like that. You know. Okay, give your question because we're getting at the end now. Yeah. I'm not understanding your question. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm not completely getting it, but we're, we're way over time here. Uh, in the spiritual world, there, I mean, that whatever little material desire that we may have come up with, um, it's not like you spend, you can be there and be in Maya all the time, and be, have any kind of feeling. As soon as that thought comes in, you're out immediately. So the spiritual world is a very nice, peaceful place because as soon as there's anything which is not, with Krishna completely in the center, uh, then immediately, as soon as we're not, as soon as someone's there and the Krishna is not the center of their lives, then we immediately just get sent to the material world to try to enjoy separately. Um, and anyway, we'll have to talk afterwards because we're way over time today. Sorry. Usually the end of the class, nobody's asking questions, and so the class ends very quick. But I'm very happy that it's always class is most relevant if those who are listening have questions and there's some back and forth. I would open up for questions earlier, but I usually as soon as I've been asking for questions, everyone says walks out. So we'll end here for today. Uh, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And tomorrow, of course, we'll read something about Lord Ramachandran.